the everyday process of creating all these dishes that have become your signature dishes?
Everyday process. It really comes from every night when I'm either here at the restaurant at Fleur, right, or at the burger bar at Fleur in San Francisco. I think by greeting guests, and in particular on the way out, I think when they're giving you a handshake and you look in your eyes and you can feel that sincere thank you or that you just reached them, I think that you just created in their time, right, you create a space that they just had a great time, not only about the food, I think about the experience, the ambience, the whole thing, and the person and the people they were with. I think that's the one who keeps me going for the next day, right? And usually I work very late at night. So it is true. So when everybody's gone usually, that's when I sit down. And when it comes to answer the question, when it comes to creating something, I usually when I sit down, I just take a piece of paper and then I start on drawing. And that's how I make the dishes, right? It's not like looking at the refrigerator or walking or what's on the market. Of course, I know what's on the market because I know what we're getting, but it's more like I pick an item. If it's lamb, let's say I decide doing something with lamb. So then I have to decide on the cut of the lamb, which part of it is, if it's a lamb burger or if it's a lamb loin, rack of lamb. And then I start on designing the lamb, and then I design the lamb loin or the chop. Then I'm thinking on the garnish, it needs something exciting, it needs something texture. Then when I have the lamb, I have the texture, I have the garnish, something works with. Then usually it has to have a hook, something that when you eat it, you remember. So that's when you usually have to come in with something, so it can be either a spice, it can be something a surprise to the guest, right? And then after that, of course, then the flavor when everything comes together, because first it's the visual part, and then when you're actually eating it, then the sauce, the accompaniment, the spice who goes in that sauce, and then when I'm really putting down, let's say I go with lamb, and I'm thinking lamb is usually with the merlot sauce, let's say, and then the merlot sauce is always described with a little hint of vanilla. Then maybe I think, okay, maybe I take a vanilla bean because it really works together, and that's how I'm building it up, right? And then something a little spicy to create an excitement in the palate. And then the next day, it goes usually on the line. I see with the chef, I said that's last night, that's what I thought, that's what we try to try, and then when all these elements together, then the first dish comes up, and then it's tasted. And very often, not to say, but I think it comes with experience, very often it's what I have thought, the way it comes together, right? So it's pretty interesting. After all these years, I think you can think on a flavor and you can taste it, and then you know it works, and then very often then it needs a little fine-tuning, and then the dish is ready.
So you're telling me that you start your art by creating the visual part,
yes,
imagining how this would
the
look.
visual and imagining the flavor and the taste.
It's been how long it's been with you behind the stove?
I'm 59, so probably 40 years.
So it's been 40 years of creating visuals through the flavor.
Well, on the beginning, maybe not the 40 years, because then I was still apprenticing and learning, and then I think it's almost like you learn music, I would say, and then once you're becoming really comfortable, that's when you basically start, I would say, composing. Then you do your own, and that's where it starts. Yeah, so probably 30 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have most of my drawings still.
Okay.
All these drawings, when the drawing is done, the rough one, right? Then I make the final, and then I put aside.
Have you ever thought about, I don't know, mounting an exhibition with those in your restaurant?
No, I have not, but it could be an idea. Yeah, it could be a total idea. Yeah. It's something that I remember, and it's still there, because when I'm going back home, my parents are still alive, and thanks God, they're still here, and they live in the same house above the pastry shop. And then I am actually, when I'm going home with my wife, I'm still living at the upper floor in the same house. And what I remember as a child, of course, they were baking downstairs for all the croissants, the brioche, and all the things, right? And that started usually at 4 o'clock, then at 5 and 6, and then at 7, when we woke up, it rised up in the house, right? And you literally, it sounds like a dream, but it's true, right? But it became natural for us. It was so And then today, the pastry shop is still working. It's actually an apprentice for my dad who took over. So when we are home, even like 3 weeks ago, I was back home. You wake up almost like when you were a kid, right? And you have the same aroma, the same smell. So that's something never will leave, right?
Never goes away.
Never goes away. No. I love vanilla, and then if you're asking me what I would like, it's a real vanilla ice cream. I think that's another little. When we talk about, I just came up with my book, right, and it's like souvenirs, and then I have my show also called Secrets of a Chef, right. My secret is usually at night when I said before, I'm in San Francisco, the office is downstairs at the restaurant, and that's where I actually do most of the work. When I say I draw my dishes, before going downstairs, I always stop at the refrigerator, at the ice cream refrigerator, and nobody's around, right? And thanks God my wife is not around because she wouldn't be happy. Then I take a bowl of vanilla ice cream, and that's how I start my night. I still consider myself a chef because every dish in every restaurant is created and goes through me, even that I work very closely with my chefs, right? And they have the liberty of presenting something, then we work together, but I feel like I'm totally involved in every dish that goes out, things when we make decisions in the front of the restaurant, things when we do advertising for the restaurant. So of course I try to oversee the restaurant as a businessman too, entrepreneur, but chef is still what I am.
If I go to your restaurants, what are the 3 must-have dishes I have to order?
Okay, that's an easy one. Yeah, that's a better question. I mean, easier to answer. I would say here, I would say the onion velouté. That's like an onion soup, but it's completely different, right?
Okay.
You expect onion soup, but when you see it's a creamy and have that flavor of the onions, and it's very simple. And then we can flavor it with a little truffle, or we can flavor with lobster, right? That's a good dish. I think the tuna tacos that you had, I think it's very delicate, it's very simple. I love those. In San Francisco, we have it's also a fairly simple dish. It's actually with a little liver. Now the foie gras is illegal in California, right? So we do it actually with duck liver, but not the foie gras processed. And I use a little bit pineapple on it and some duck ham, and pour a little consommé of a pineapple with vanilla. There's a little coming up. I pour that in, and that's just such a simple dish, but these flavors just come together, yeah. And then when I go to Burger Bar, then it's usually either the Keller burger, because people asking me usually which is my favorite burger. It's a buffalo, spinach, a little blue cheese, caramelized onions, and a shallot sauce. And then it's a ciabatta bun because it reminds me like the baguette bread. And those are some of my favorite dishes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.